So please be working on that. I think we covered almost everything that's in there, or have over the course of architectural in here. After that, if you turn the pages, you're going to see legal land descriptions, assignment 4A. I know this section method of breaking sections down, you probably, for most of you, it's the first time you've heard that. So we're going to do a little practice on it. So assignment 4A.
Were we supposed to do the other vocabulary?
Yes?
What was it, chapter 3?
All right, so what you're to do here is to go through and shade the areas. So label section number in the center of the section, subdivide each section according to the legal description, shade the area in, use a cast iron hatch pattern if you would. Give the acreage in the shaded area. So the first one's an example for you. So you're doing the northeast quarter of section 2, so you're labeling it 2, you're blocking out the northeast quarter and hatching it. Use a triangle, please. Don't be sloppy. All right, so the second one, you're doing the north half of the northeast quarter of section 31. So in essence, what you're doing on this one is you're reading these. Now, they read from small to large. Okay. So when you're actually finding it, you're going to go backwards. So you're in section 7. That's this. Okay. Then I'm going to go to the southwest quarter, okay, which would be this one. Then I'm going to go to the northwest quarter of that. And then I'm going to go to the southwest quarter of that. To find the acreage, probably the easiest way to do it is to take 640 and divide it by 4 times 4 times 4. And that would give you always the acreage. By that, the math is, what, it's today, Monday? I made like 3 mistakes today. And where do I get the 4s from? Quarters, right? And that will give you the acreage. Okay, so if you would turn the page. There's 2 pages to that assignment, then you come to this assignment. And here you're not reading it, you are writing it. So they have a shaded area, like this one, the example, and you are to write it. So start small and go to large. So when they're doing southwest quarter, section 3. You don't have to write out the word section, the abbreviation for a section is S. Okay. So then you're going to do all of these. So you just write your legal description, give the acreage. And again, there's 2 pages to this. No, it's logical. It'll take you a little bit to get used to it,
So,
but go skip.
so on that first one, it's the northwest corner of the northwest corner, correct? For the bottom left? The
This
first
one?
one, yeah.
Well, I don't want to give the answer away, so let's just kind of go and say, let's do that one. Okay? So we're going to do that little piece down there. Now,
East half.
huh? Hey, always look for quarters. Okay. So if I drew those little lines right there, and I'm thinking of this little rectangle that sits right here, what quarter am I in?
The northwest.
Okay, be the north, west, quarter. Okay, and now I've got to go bigger.
Of the southeast section.
What quarter is this of this one?
South.
Southeast.
Somebody keep me on here if I write it up wrong this time. That sounds right. That's southwest quarter of,
Southeast.
Southeast,
so now I'm dealing with this one, right?
right?
Southeast.
Okay, so now I'm out to here.
It's now southeast again.
Am I done?
Section 10.
Quarter.
Thank you. Now I'm done. Did you see how that happened?
You start big, you know, you start small, you big.
You want to do another one?
So you don't have to go based on the lines that they already have down there.
What's that?
You don't have to go based on the lines that are already down there. You can just divide it into quarters, like however that chooses.
Quarters, halves are real typical. I've seen them where they even divide it into eighths. I don't know who that person was. I've only seen one legal description that was done that way. But I can't look at a rectangle and determine where the eighth is. So, yeah, stick to halves and quarters. You want to do one other one?
Yeah.
Do this piece right here. Okay, I always start, you gotta completely encompass the property, so I'm gonna start with this rectangle.
So this is half.
Okay. So I'm the east half. Okay, now, by the east half, I've defined that whole thing, right?
Okay.
East half of,
Northwest
Northwest.
quarter,
okay, now I'm to there. Do I have to go any higher?
northeast,
Of the
so northeast quarter.
northeast quarter of the section. Northeast.
Aren't I now to section 36? Let's see, north, oh wait, no, no, I'm not, no, I'm not.
Northeast quarter, then
No, I'm not.
section.
Okay, so then we gotta do this guy. That's right, north,
East quarter.
east, quarter, section 36.
Okay.
So then you do 2 times 4 times 4, and then divide that by 640 for the acreage, correct?
Divided into
Into.
640. Yes. Okay. All right, let's talk about this for a couple minutes. Have a little discussion. Let's talk about the paving. Or not the paving, the parking.
The parking's weird, it's one way.
Parking tells you some clues about this property.
Is it off a one-way road? Is they all pull in that way? Or
Okay, that's a big thing right here, right? Where do you access the property? And this is true of every piece of property, we have to pretty much figure vehicular access. When you come to the retail industry, I've never really worked in this field, but I would think that this would be of huge importance. And all of us have been shoppers, and most of us don't like the parking. We always wonder how we can get in that handicap spot, right? But we don't. And if we've got a really fancy car, we always park way in the back of the parking lot. That's where you see those. All the Corvettes and Porsches are back there. But anyway, what are some of the clues you get? I think, Missy, you had one. We got a one-way street somewhere, or do we have street access, actually? Do we have access to this property from down here?
No.
Absolutely not. Okay. This is a major thoroughfare, thoroughway, There's a curve across here, we don't have access. So the only access is from out over here. Now, where's our principal access going to be from?
Corner, right there.
Okay. Here's where we're coming off of this street. But what is this street really accessing? Is it accessing the Pizza Hut?
No, where the building is there.
It's not really. What's out in that area?
Some big white thing.
I think it's the Ridley's.
What's that?
I think it was the Ridley's. I can't remember.
How do you find out what
But
that
it's in
building
the
is?
parking lot.
Yeah, how do we find that out? How do we find out what's out there?
Well, we went on
Google
Google
Earth.
Earth.
Right on
How about Google Earth?
It doesn't say what it is
Dennis
though.
Alexis is in Google
I
Earth.
mean, there's a huge building, but it doesn't say what it is.
Let's go look at it. And we got this cool tool, make sure you're using it, I think most of you are.
Oh, you have to.
Can you find it without typing in the address?
Yeah, it's a Ridley's.
Okay, so what are people really accessing?
The shopping mall thing.
Am I looking at the right one? No.
No.
I'm not on the right one.
302 and 9th Street.
Oh, it's at Burley, that's my neighbor. Good.
Is it bowling? I don't know what it is.
Let me go to the right spot.
There's a bunch of different.
I'm only about 20 miles out. Yeah, that's better. What are people really accessing here?
The big white building.
Yeah. Okay. And I think you guys said it's Ridley's, right?
What?
And then there's a couple little.
Ridley's is a grocery store. That's popular in our area. Used to have one up in Bellevue.
Really?
Mhm.
Oh, my goodness.
All right, so that's what they're really accessing. So in essence, what our access is not anywhere off of the street. Our access is coming from this parking lot. Now, does that give you some clues on your parking and why, when you looked at this, that you couldn't tell from the site plan? And that we have two parking stalls here, even though our area we're gonna take care of is here. How, we gotta access these from out here, we can't have a barrier in the way, right? Because they gotta be able to access here, these are coming in here. Now, why are they slanted?
Space so that you have enough room to pull in and out of those parking spots without hitting cars behind you.
Yeah, so there's some tricks with parking. If you have lots of area, the most efficient parking method is a straight parking spot like this. But then you have to have room in between for a vehicle to turn, right? And do a 90-degree turn. With a parking system like this, we no longer have that 90-degree turn. So therefore, we're going part of a circle, we don't need as much room. Now, we also reduce parking spots though, by going incline, because they're longer than they have to be. Now, how did we come up with this? What's the size of these parking stalls? Anybody measured one yet? Pull out your 20 scale and measure the width and length of it.
Is the Bible long?
What'd you get, Missy?
So what is it, so I got 1 inch, or whatever you, not inch, you know.
Are they
So it's 40.
10 by 20?
No, I don't think they're 10 by 20.
I just measured on Google Earth.
Okay, so that's 10. Now, you want to measure
We use the
perpendicular.
20.
It's really the width right there.
Oh,
That's
okay.
your 90,
Or no, 11 by 20.
95.
Yeah, I got
Now your
11.
length
Just measuring on Google Earth.
is
I
9
got
by
11 by
20.
20. And then 11 by 40.
Number 23.
23.
Okay, so they're on here. To where the distance, you measure these, you should get for the width, which is perpendicular width, because that's how your cars are sitting, that's 9 feet. Now, if you measure the length of it, which you gotta measure along the lines, what did we get there, Missy? Was it 23? 23 foot. Because you're not measuring perpendicular, you're measuring the hypotenuse. You need the width. Because a car, don't be measuring this line for your 10 feet. Yeah, that's 10 feet, but that has no effect on the car, because the car sits here like this. Right? Now, why do we do a parking stall at 9 feet?
So you have a cushion on both sides?
Yeah, but where do you get that information? What you do is you come to something like this. Okay?
Cool.
Where it gives you all the dimensions of a standard car, or a standard pickup, or a standard street bus, or an 18-wheeler, or a 10-wheeler. What's the turning radius of all these vehicles? Okay, they're all designed to work on our streets. They don't make cars to whatever size they want. They make them to function on our transportation system, which is our streets. Okay, so I look down here and I'd say, small car. Okay, length of it 16 feet, width of it is 5'7". So if I'm going to open the doors, what's the width then? Okay, you need the 9 feet for that. So at a 16-footer, that's if I have a perpendicular stall, not an angled one, it's 16 feet. But if you put an angled one in there, now you have little corners on that that are unusable, right? So that's where all this comes from. Okay? If somebody is looking at something like this, where they can do it, you know, what's the length of a truck and a fifth wheel? It's all documented. So you want to know the length. Let's say I'm doing a street and I need a bus drop off. Okay, well, here's an intercity charter bus. And it's got, there's my overall, there's my height. I've got all that down here in this chart. Tells me all my heights and everything I need. I've got a chart like this one. Minimum turning radius for design vehicles. Private vehicle has a 24-foot turning radius. So that's as a general, depending on what you want in there. And they're kind of showing you all this here. So you guys, if you're doing an angled parking, in essence, we're only doing that type of radius right there, right? Because we've only got a portion of this. Oh. Okay, so if I'm doing a parking into an angled slot, I don't have to have the full turning radius now. Okay, if I've got to take a vehicle and I've got to turn it all the way in a circle, okay, I know my center line or my inside wheel requires 24 feet for that to happen, so I designed that store. So when you guys pull into Burger King or Wendy's and you go through the drive-through, you get out there and measure it, that's how that angle was determined. For us, where we're doing an angled parking, you're probably what? You know, maybe 30 degrees of that turn? Okay. So we can figure out how much room you need for the width of the vehicle and at that turn. Okay, and that's what comes out in between those parking spaces. This thing also has a nice little chart on page 108 that basically lays all these out for you. Because do you think we've designed parking spots before? Yes, we have. Okay. So be looking for information for it. But everything you need, whether I'm doing this or a perpendicular one like this one, the access I've got through it. This all comes out of this guy. I'm looking at this one. I put a little flippy right here where that's at. We're getting ready to do a softball field. Any of you know the size of a softball field? Guess what? I bet it's in here. I got to do a high school basketball court once. Did I know what that was? I was a wrestler. I had no idea. Looked it up in here. Okay, and then found it. In fact, it gave me everything I needed on how to build the floor, everything. It's all been built before. Use stuff like this. I'm sure it's on the internet. Again, if you're using the internet, make sure it's a legit source. How come they have 2 handicap spots?
Don't you have to have two?
Requirement for,
I don't know.
requirement for occupancy?
I don't think you have to have 2, no. I think there's a ratio. Am I right? I don't know. Cheryl, you're doing ADA for that. Have you come across that? Weren't you looking up some ADA stuff for the house?
I haven't seen parking.
No. Why would we do parking?
No, you didn't have to. I'm sure it's in the ADA. It might be in this red book. I haven't researched it.
I think it's a percentage of the parking.
I think it is too. I think after every so many stalls, you have to have so many handicap parking. Keep in mind, this stuff is not just thrown on here as a bunch of lines. It is given thought to the functionality of it. Do you think you might be able to do a better design area? Is this what's on the, by the way, is this what's on the parking lot right now?
No.
It's been changed since this time, right? What's been the change? I think this is pro steel here.
Yeah, that's still there.
The gravel is
This has
grass.
been removed.
No, that's still there.
Still there?
That's still there?
Yeah.
That gravel road run is grass.
Is this road here? Here's your truck access for dropping off deliveries.
No.
No,
It's
it looks,
green.
it looks the same.
No, this one's coming off of, or 3rd Street. You have an access right here, right? Where we got access, truck access, but it's telling you to, wait, hold on, remove, we're constructing a curb. No, never mind, we're taking that one out. That was existing back before. Sorry. So that's now going to grass. Can you see the sewer line in there? I don't know if you can see the clean out.
We don't have one.
Uh-huh.
Probably below ground.
It's like there's a light pole right in the middle of the access road in top.
Okay. Now, we've got some other things. So how are they bringing a truck in here to drop stuff off? Okay, through the parking lot, and we're gonna probably assume on this thing, we don't have the floor plan, we don't know where the exterior doors are, but I'm betting there's something over here that's gonna access into the kitchen. Now, when we're in a restaurant, certainly most of you don't know about all this stuff because it happens in the middle of the night or very early in the morning. So they're getting in here where none of this is filled in to do that. We do have garbage that has to have access here. And again, that's why garbage collectors start work at 4 in the morning, is so they can get access into all these places without having to deal with them. Let's see, has anybody found any errors on here? Lisa, you have? What, give me one error you found.
4-inch sidewalk typical around the perimeter.
Okay,
Barely 50 foot.
where is
Right
that?
there, sidewalk, move it over, right there. It says, on our sheet, it says 4-inch sidewalk. And I don't see a sidewalk around that, where maybe the roof's overhanging
Okay.
yet, but it doesn't show it on the Google.
Good catch. Right there, right? 4-inch sidewalk.
You walk around like this.
That was for me back when I was a young skinny man.
Even that's what's good.
They have it on the street view, and the pictures are just from last year.
Are you sure they're not talking about the thickness of the sidewalk?
I don't know.
You can see behind the pizza too.
I don't see the sidewalk.
And there's no sidewalk on that Google Earth view.
Or sidewalk.
If you go to street view,
Unless it's under an awning, you can't see it.
you're gonna go to your street view and you might be able to see it.
Oh, yeah, it's there.
Let me go to my street view here.
How do you
But
do
it's
that?
not for,
Just keep zooming in, it'll flip you to street view.
it's
So,
not for inch.
So it's 4-inch thick concrete, but you need the width?
okay, so does this note that we're dealing with, what should it really say? It is an error, or it is, if nothing else, unclear. What should it say?
1 foot?
4-inch concrete sidewalk tip. See, 4-inch CONC.
Do you see it dimensioned anywhere?
No? Do you need-
Because there's really no dimensions on here. Right, it's all gonna be supported by survey. What could we say?
So it's
Or
just
is-
talking about the depth.
Talking about the depth of it.
2 feet, or if you're 4 feet wide, 2 foot wide.
Actually, do I even really need the concrete, or now are we determining that it's not an error? Because it's hatched a certain way. Is that a standard hatch of concrete in a plan view? I believe it is. So I don't know that that is an error,
It does not, yeah, okay.
talking about the depth. Anybody else find an error on here? You find another one, Lisa? Let's give somebody else a chance here. Yes, Sean?
It says the parking spots are 9 feet by 20. When we measured them out, weren't they 9 by 23?
Yeah, you'll measure them what they are, so the parking spot's 9 by